A long time ago, in a certain village, there lived two powerful men called Albert and Andrew. They were very good friends. Each of them had a son. Their sons were in the same age bracket. A time came for their sons to start school. So the men decided to send their sons to the same school. The day before they sent their sons to school, the men sat with their sons and talked with them about school. Albert said to Abu, his son, "Son, tomorrow you start formal school. At home, which is an informal school, you have been receiving informal education and learning many things about life. In the formal school, you will receive formal education and study mainly what you haven't learned in the informal school. I want you to go to school and study, not for only yourself, but also for humanity. With your education, you can serve humanity in any part of the world and make a big difference in the world. Your education should make you able to survive in any part of the world. Go and study for humanity so that with your education, you can make the world better and touch as many lives as possible with your life. Go and study as much as you can, but don't limit yourself to learning only inside the classroom, for education goes beyond the classroom. Go and study to become useful to humanity and bear fruits for people to enjoy both within and beyond your lifetime. Bear in mind that education is a lifelong process. Therefore, even if you finish formal schooling, your education should continue. Only at death should you stop learning. Always seek as much knowledge as possible and apply the knowledge correctly to get the right results. Always remember that you are not studying for only yourself, but for many other people in the world as well. Therefore, if you play with your education, then you would be playing with not only your future, but also the future of many other people and the future of the world. With your education, you can transform the world, starting with your life. Go to school with my words and never forget them. You will not always have me with you, but you will always have my words with you if you keep them. As your father, it is my divine responsibility to instruct you, but it is your divine responsibility to obey my instructions. Over to you, great son." Andrew also instructed his son Jack. He told him, "My beloved son, Jack, every loving father desires the best for his children. I am no different. I want you to be very successful in life. I want you to excel in life. I want you to have a bright future. I want you to live a good life. Therefore, I will send you to school tomorrow to start a great journey. A journey that will make you a successful person. I want you to study hard so that you can be successful, excel in life, and live a good life. I don't want you to suffer. I don't want you to be a failure. I don't want you to ruin your life. Study hard so that you get good jobs, succeed, and enjoy life." The next morning, the two men made their way to school, holding the hands of their sons. Many years later, Abu and Jack both finished formal education. Abu went on to use his education to serve humanity in many places by creating solutions to numerous problems that people were facing. He built schools and libraries to fight ignorance. He built hospitals to fight diseases. He fought for peace and justice. He rallied people to fight poverty, hunger, war, and many other problems. He didn't live for only himself, but also for other people. Jack, however, got employed by the government. He held various big positions. He was very corrupt. He didn't have humanity at heart, neither did he have a heart for humanity. He embezzled money and other resources and built mansions and set up investments and empires for himself. He exploited the masses to satisfy his personal greed and needs. He gathered where he did not sow. Abu, however, sowed even where he wouldn't gather. He sowed for other people as well, seeds whose fruits would be reaped even beyond his lifetime. Between Abu and Jack, who was truly educated? Who was holistically transformed by education? Who was the true embodiment of an educated person? Who would survive in any part of the world with their education? Between Albert and Andrew, who instructed his son better? Who better understood the value of education? Who knew what education was? Today I ask, education for what? Education for the wrong reasons is miseducation. Education for the right reasons is education. Education for the wrong reasons produces people like Jack who destroy humanity with their education. Education for the right reasons produces people like Abu who serve humanity with their education. What kind of education have you received informally? What kind of education have you received formally? What kind of reasons made you seek education? What have you done with the education you have received? What will you do with the education you are receiving, as well as the education you will receive? What is your understanding of education? Why do we need, not just want, education? Have you ever imagined that in many schools today, many learners are receiving miseducation instead of education? Does it ever bother you that many of the so-called educated people cannot properly identify problems and create realistic solutions to the problems? If they can't identify problems and create solutions to the problems, then are they really educated or miseducated? Can you imagine that today many people hold many powerful academic papers, yet their lives never reflect what those papers reflect? Have you ever noticed that the education systems in many countries are now obsolete? How can we solve contemporary problems with obsolete education systems? Have you really received education or just a mere shadow of education? I ask again, education for what? Well, it is wisely said, education is the key to success. That means education unlocks the padlock of success. However, education systems must always be rethought, reimagined, and redesigned if they must always be relevant. Antiquated education systems are neither relevant nor sustainable. We cannot stick to the olden education systems if we must properly prepare our learners for the increasingly technology-driven world. While the traditional education systems worked for several people, it doesn't mean they will work in the present and the future. Times have changed, things have shifted, the world has evolved and is ever evolving. Many unprecedented problems have emerged and many are still in the pipeline. Unprecedented problems do not only require but also demand unprecedented solutions. Obsolete education systems cannot provide unprecedented solutions to the unprecedented problems we face in unprecedented times. Wisdom teaches that we cannot address the challenges of today with the outdated techniques of yesterday. Bishop T.D. Jakes once taught, you cannot fight today's battles with yesterday's weapons. Surely today's battles need today's weapons, the same way tomorrow's battles will need tomorrow's weapons. The question is, are we aware that we cannot fight today's battles with yesterday's weapons? The question is, are we really fighting today's battles with today's weapons? The question is, are we ready to fight tomorrow's battles with tomorrow's weapons? Technology has rapidly changed the world beyond our wildest imaginations, yet we are yet to be amazed by even more sophisticated technological advancements. Outdated education systems will not prepare our learners to maximize the lucrative opportunities presented by technological advancements. Such education systems need to be urgently replaced with contemporary education systems. Education systems must always answer the fundamental questions of why, what, where, when, who, whom, and how. Why should we educate our people? What should we educate our people? For whom should we educate our people? Where should we educate our people? Who should educate our people? How best should we educate our people? Any so-called education system which does not provide comprehensive answers to the questions is not an education system, but a miseducation system. Who has the answers to the questions? What are the answers to the questions? Are our education systems really providing comprehensive answers to the questions? Given the breakneck speed at which the world is changing today, the answers to the questions cannot be the same today as they were yesterday. Tomorrow, the answers will even be different. That means different times require different answers to the same questions. The answers to the questions will shape, guide, and direct our imaginations, thoughts, and actions into putting in place proper education systems that can adequately address the challenges of the present and prepare us for the challenges of the future. When we link what we teach to the real world, we then properly realize what is relevant and what is irrelevant. There is no wisdom in doing obsolete things better when we should be doing new things. We should not enslave education systems for the sole purpose of producing monetizable skills. Education must address the underlying issues surrounding our core humanity and consciousness and produce people with a strong sense of responsibility to humanity so that they can serve humanity with their education, gifts, talents, and abilities by identifying problems and creating realistic solutions to the problems and implementing the solutions. If we educate for only technology's sake, then we will lose our humanity to technology. If we educate for only money, then we will lose our humanity to money. If we educate for only the present, then we will lose our future in the present. I ask again, education for what? Education should promote mind decolonization so that we can be free and free indeed. One of the greatest reggae singers of all time, the legendary Bob Marley, sang in his redemption song, "Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." I wonder who will pay attention to the statement. I wonder if our education is helping us emancipate our minds. I wonder if we are fully aware that our education should make us able to free ourselves from mental slavery. Only he who is free in the mind is free indeed. Are you free in the mind? Are you free indeed? Are you mentally emancipated? Any education that does not help people to decolonize their minds is miseducation. Miseducation produces slaves instead of free critical thinkers who can revolutionize the world with their revolutionary thoughts, ideas, and activities. The colonial education systems are powerful tools for mind colonization. They produce modern-day slaves who unconsciously pay complete allegiance to their former colonial masters. The colonial education systems ensure that the minds of the learners are captured as early as possible so that the learners look to their former colonizers with unreserved loyalty. This is modern-day slavery. The colonial education systems must be overhauled with contemporary education systems that adequately address our challenges. I ask again, education for what? Education should transform our minds, hearts, and lives. Any so-called education that does not transform our minds, hearts, and lives is no education but miseducation. It was the great Greek philosopher, sage, and polymath Aristotle who wisely observed, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. What a statement. Education takes place in both formal and informal schools. In fact, the most important school is the home because it is in the home where one should learn about life. While in formal schools, one learns mainly what is in the curriculum. Make your home a school. Teach everyone in your home about life. Teach them the right things before they learn the wrong things from outside your home. Teach them to teach other people also. There is no school in the world whose curriculum adequately addresses life. Education doesn't stop in formal schools. It is a lifelong process. Only at death does one stop learning. Therefore, we must seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Between the cradle and the grave, we must correctly apply what we learn for the good of humanity. We should not learn selfishly, for a selfish life is a worthless life. One should not learn for only himself, but for the good of humanity. Life is the greatest school ever. In the school of life, everyone is a teacher and a student at the same time. Everyone learns what they don't know and teaches others what they know, both right and wrong. Therefore, we should be mindful of what we learn and teach. If we learn the wrong things, we will teach others the wrong things. The results will be destruction. If we learn the right things, we will teach others the right things. The results will be construction. You can teach other people only what to know. Therefore, make sure you learn the right things so that you teach other people the right things. Life is the greatest teacher ever. It teaches us the greatest lessons ever. Always be a student of life. Learn as much as you can from every situation you encounter in life and apply correctly what you learn to get the right results. I wonder if you're really a student of life. I wonder what lessons you have learned from life. I wonder how you're applying the lessons. I wonder what kind of results you want to get from applying the lessons. I wonder what you're teaching others. I wonder what you're learning from others. Always be open-minded, not rigid in thinking and acting, for no matter how knowledgeable, intelligent, and wise you are, there are many things that you do not know, but you can learn. Are you open to ideas? Are you open-minded? Are you able to see opportunities and tap them? Are you able to appreciate that there are many things that you don't know? Are you aware that everyone you meet and will ever meet knows something that you don't know? Well, the great Greek Stoic philosopher Epictetus died in 135 AD, but he left for us a statement which I want you to pay attention to. He said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." The question is, are you open to learning everything you don't know from everyone, everywhere, every time? I ask again, education for what? Education should enable learners to solve real-life problems, not just make them attain only theoretical knowledge that they don't even know how to apply. How useful is knowledge if not applied? What does one gain from unapplied knowledge? What wisdom is there in accumulating a heap of knowledge that one doesn't apply? Certain lessons are best learned and mastered through practical experiences. Education should produce people who can think creatively, critically, and innovatively and work collaboratively with other people to generate ideas and execute ideas to solve problems. I ask again, education for what? Education should instill in learners the right values and virtues with which they should serve humanity. What is education if it does not instill in learners the right values and virtues? What is education if it does not produce those who have humanity at heart? What is education if it does not help learners discover themselves? What is education if it does not help learners discover their passions, gifts, talents, abilities, and purposes? What is education if it does not instill ethics in learners? What is education if it does not produce job creators but only job seekers? What is education if it does not prepare learners for the real world? What is education if it does not produce those who can identify problems and then solve them? What is education if it does not produce those who can identify opportunities and then tap them? What is education if it does not address our challenges? What is education if it does not decolonize our minds and make us free thinkers? What is education if it does not address the unemployment crisis? Outdated education systems prepare students for unemployment instead of employment because the meaningful opportunities for the students to tap with their education don't really exist. Education should produce problem solvers. Any so-called education that does not produce problem solvers is miseducation. The outdated education systems were not designed to meet the needs of the modern day learners. Therefore, they must be quashed and replaced with modern education systems as soon as possible. The earlier we do it in our respective countries, the better. If an education system is not designed by us, then it is not designed for us. I repeat, if an education system is not designed by us, then it is not designed for us. Who are those who think they know our problems better than us so that they should design for us education systems that can address our problems? Who are those who think they are best qualified to design for us education systems apart from us? Who are those who think they have the divine duty to decide what we should be taught in formal schools apart from us? How can those who are ignorant of our problems design for us our education systems to address our problems? Will those education systems really address our problems? How can we entertain such education systems, yet time has shown that the systems don't really work for us? If an education system was not designed by us, then it was not designed for us. I repeat, if an education system was not designed by us, then it was not designed for us. Therefore, it is naive, catastrophic, and fatal for us to think, believe, and hope that such an education system will address our problems. I ask again, education for what? Education goes beyond acquiring or enforcing knowledge. It is also a cultural process that allows us to better understand our context. Education, therefore, encompasses several valuable factors such as culture, moral values, cognitive development, and social integration, among others. We should critically examine our education systems. What results do our education systems produce? Do they really produce problem solvers? Do they really address the challenges of today? Do they really serve our interests? Do they really make us free, especially in the mind? Do they really decolonize our minds? Do they really instill in us the responsibility to serve humanity? Do they really make us great critical thinkers and doers? Do they really make us self-reliant? Education systems that are both knowledge and skills-based will address the challenges we encounter. Those are the education systems we must always have in our countries. I ask again, education for what? Education should help learners discover their talents, gifts, and abilities, and develop and commercialize the talents, gifts, and abilities. That education will bring out the best in learners and make them prosper in every situation, everywhere, every time. Is this really the education we are providing in our schools today? Do we create for our learners the opportunities to discover themselves and explore what they want to do in life? Are our learners able to develop their gifts, talents, and abilities through the education we are providing them? Are our schools also hubs for nurturing people who can excel in life even if they fail in class? Maybe a student has a talent to be a pianist. Maybe a student has a passion for art. Maybe a student is a gifted orator. Maybe a student is a talented singer. Maybe a student has a passion for business. Maybe a student is a gifted athlete. Are these students ever properly encouraged, taught, and guided to explore their talents, abilities, and desires, or they are only given conservative curricula that they must follow to the dot, and if they fail in class, then they are told they will be failures in life? Do we tell our students that one doesn't necessarily have to excel in class, to excel in life? Do we make our students know that if one is not good in school, then they can still succeed in life, or lie to them that once one is not good in school, then they are bound to fail in life? Do we properly tell our learners that failing in school doesn't necessarily mean failing in life, or tell them that failing in school is failing in life? Do we really tell our learners that excelling in class doesn't necessarily mean excelling in life? Haven't we met excellent students who scored excellent grades but failed miserably in life? Do we teach our learners that the dynamics of a classroom are different from the dynamics of life? Do we properly give comprehensive career guidance to our learners? I challenge whoever claims that if a student is not good in class, then he will be a failure in life to quickly step forward and tell me if all the people who are good in school with straight A's become successful in life. I've gone to many schools in many places and talked with many students and teachers. I've discovered that in many schools, proper career guidance is completely lacking. Most, if not all, the learners are therefore confused. If some schools do not give learners proper career guidance, then what are they preparing the learners to be? How do the teachers expect the learners to properly identify their careers? Don't the teachers prepare such students to fail in life, even if they may excel in class? There is no shortage of people who live depressing lives at school and never enjoy their lives outside school because they never enjoy their work. They change their fields in the late years of their lives because they never had proper guidance in their early years. And due to that, they have suffered. Many of them have been frustrated. Many of them have been disappointed. Many of them have been stressed. Many of them have even died. I ask again, education for what? Education helps us discover, develop, and commercialize our talents, gifts, and abilities and use them to serve God and humanity, which in turn makes room for us in the world. Every person is talented. Every person is capable. Every person is gifted. Every person is special. Every person is unique. Every person has a purpose. Every person was created on purpose, for a purpose. Every person has a different lane in life. Every person has their own race to run. Every person has their own life to live. Schools should be platforms where learners can freely discover, develop, and explore their talents, gifts, and abilities at an early age to build a happy life around those talents, gifts, and abilities. Schools need to appreciate that life cannot be built only around books that address the curriculum. Every child deserves to explore his or her inner self. In the ageless wise words of Albert Einstein, everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. This statement best depicts the kind of education systems we have in many countries today, especially African countries. In many schools today, different learners in the same class are asked to climb the same tree in the name of examinations, and they are judged by their ability to climb the tree. No room is left for those who cannot properly climb the tree, for they are immediately labeled failures, not only in class, but also in life. Such schools never allow learners to develop holistically. We must be careful not to label learners as failures just because they have come short in tests and examinations that only focus on how much a student can remember instead of what they can do with what they have learned. Life transcends books. Life outdoes every classroom. Life cannot be bottled in any school curriculum other than the curriculum of life itself. Life is bigger than any formal school. Life itself is a school in which everyone is a lifelong student. Blessed are those who are devoted students of life, for they will prosper in life. The great Mahatma Gandhi wisely taught, live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Today, many students leave formal schools without understanding the principles of life. Many of them go on to struggle in life without any notable success, irrespective of their grades. For example, one of the fundamental problems students face after graduating from school is their unfamiliarity with the way money works. Not a single class in school properly teaches learners how to save money, handle money, and earn money through investments. It is really amazing that many learners don't even know how to manage personal finances, even if they score well in mathematics and accounting classes. Many students struggle with handling their finances, even after excelling highly in their mathematical and financial courses. This is because the studies in many schools are mainly theoretical instead of practical. We need a serious mindset change to give our learners the proper education they deserve, demand, and desire, with which they will solve the problems they encounter as they journey through life. I ask again, education for what? Education and learning enable us to discover, explore, and understand the world around us, the world inside us, and our respective niches in the world. We should examine the kind of teachers we have and the teaching methods they use. What kind of teachers do we have in our schools? Are they properly trained? Are they really interested in teaching? Did they go for teaching willingly or as last resort, or because their uncles, aunts, or in-laws were the administrators in the teaching institution they attended? What kinds of teaching methods do our teachers use? Are they relevant? Do they enable the learners to participate actively and collaboratively and learn holistically? Do they take care of the different starting points of the different learners, considering gender? Do the teachers have access to the teaching materials needed to satisfy the requirements of the curriculum? Are the teachers present as and when they should? Are the teachers properly motivated to teach? Are the teachers themselves learners? A teacher who is not a regular learner never makes a great teacher. Teachers must be the lead learners. They must lead the learners and show them why to learn, where to learn from, when to learn, for whom to learn, what to learn, and how to learn, and apply what they learn in real-life situations to solve problems. The education pedagogical approaches we use in both formal and informal schools must be properly tailored to include all the students, taking into account the different abilities, needs, and conditions of different learners. The Shegesias Ignacio Estrada thoughtfully advised, if a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. This statement will go down in history as one of the most powerful, life-changing, and eye-opening statements ever made on education. Everyone must wake up to the fact that they should always seek knowledge both in and outside formal school. Self-education must be encouraged at all levels, in all places, at all times. Self-education will do for you what 1,000 presidents can never do for a city. Always be willing to learn and apply the lessons correctly to get the desired results. For knowledge is useful only when correctly applied. I ask again, education for what? Education exposes us to new insights, ideas, and concepts that we can use to improve the world around us and the world within us. Whereas the world around us is everything external, the world within us is everything internal, like our minds, our bodies, and our emotions. We must examine the educational contents we are delivering to our learners. What are we teaching our learners? Are the curricula and the teaching materials relevant to the present time? Are the basic literacy and numeracy skills sufficiently emphasized? Do the curricula emphasize basic skills like hygiene, nutrition, conflict resolution, gender equality, or other important local, national, and international issues? Are proper life skills included in the curricula? Are the different education stakeholders involved in designing, redesigning, and implementing the curricula? Are the curricula comprehensive enough to produce holistically educated people? Do the curricula make room for those who do not excel in class to excel outside the classroom? Do the curricula take care of special needs children like those with physical disabilities? I ask again, education for what? As Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Education is the tool that breaks down all barriers. Education is part of the foundation of all progress and growth for both an individual and society. We must examine our learning environments and institutions. What kind of schools do we have? Are the learning environments really healthy, secure, protective, inspiring, and adapted for both girls and boys? Are the learning environments inclusive, also for minorities or learners with disabilities? Do the learners learn to respect each other? Do the learners learn to take care of their surrounding natural environments? Are the environments conducive, serene, and ambient for all learners and teachers? Do the teachers cooperate with learners, parents, and other stakeholders to ensure sound learning environments for all? Today, there are many schools in many places in many countries in which there is no meaningful education taking place. We live in a world in which there is no shortage of educational institutions in many places, yet there is an unprecedented shortage of education in many institutions. I ask again, education for what? Education is not just about learning, reading, writing, and arithmetic at school. Informal education is acquired throughout life, through life lessons, life mistakes, and life experiences, both good and bad, both desired and undesired, both glorifying and humiliating. Formal education helps one to attain the knowledge, skills, and understanding needed to become a specialist in a particular field. Both formal and informal education help one to become a better person and create a better society to live in. We must examine the management of our schools. Are our schools run well? Do the managerial practices adhere to local, national, and international guidelines? Are schools well organized? Are school administrations transparent so that everyone can see how funding and other resources are deployed? Are parents, guardians, and other stakeholders involved in the management of our schools? Do teachers have clear parameters for how they should teach and treat learners and colleagues, especially female colleagues? Do school administrators treat teachers and other stakeholders with respect while upholding their dignity and rights? I ask again, education for what? Proper education sets people up to grow holistically, mentally, internally, externally, personally, professionally, and socially, so that they positively impact lives in the world. We must examine the preconditions for our learners. What experiences do our learners bring with them to school? Have they ever been exposed to special challenges, such as natural disasters, wars, abuse, child labor, and gender-based violence? What kind of families do they come from? What kind of parents or guidance do they have? Are their homes really schools? What are they taught at home? Were the learners brought up in environments where girls and boys were given equal treatment? How dissimilar is the language used at school to the one used at home? Are the learners hungry when they arrive at school? Does any of them suffer from any chronic disease? Do they travel a long way to school? Do they come to school with a deep desire to learn? Are they self-motivated? Are they hungry for knowledge, wisdom, and intelligence? Are they disciplined? Are they responsible learners? I ask again, education for what? Education enlightens someone's mind and broadens their horizons and helps them understand and appreciate other people and cultures from other corners of the world so that they can best appreciate unity in diversity. We must examine the kind of funding we extend to educational institutions. Is the education sector adequately funded? Are scholastic materials provided to all schools without discrimination whatsoever? Are teachers properly paid so that they are properly motivated to teach? Is the government responsible enough to fulfill its responsibilities to educators, learners, and the other stakeholders of education? Do we adequately fund research, especially in high institutions of learning? Are we properly fighting corruption? Are we properly fighting corruption, especially in African countries, so that resources meant for the education sector and the other sectors are not misused for selfish interest? How much of our budgets do we allocate to the education sector? I ask again, education for what? One of the biggest reasons why education is important is because it helps us understand ourselves and become better versions of ourselves, and in turn, we improve our society. This may sound very simple to you, but do you know how many people are frustrated, disappointed, and stressed because they don't know who they are, why they exist, what they're supposed to do in the world, when, how, and for whom they are supposed to do what they're supposed to do? In his powerful book, The Miseducation of the Filipino, Professor Renato Constantino advised, we must now think of ourselves, of our salvation, of our future. And unless we prepare the minds of the young for this endeavor, we shall always be a pathetic people with no definite goals and no assurance of preservation. Who will give this statement the seriousness it deserves? Who will give our learners quality, holistic education? Who will prepare the young for the enormous task of building our countries? I ask again, education for what? Education is not about good grades. Education is not about memory tests. Education is not about how smartly one understands a particular topic. Education is about producing all-round human beings who can make their positive contribution to society by identifying problems and creating realistic solutions to the problem and implementing the solutions correctly. In his eye-opening, soul-awakening, and life-transforming song, Education is the Key, Boss Miko Tim, one of the greatest legendary singers of all time, sang, education is the key. Education is the master key to success. Education is power. Knowledge is wealth. Knowledge is power. This is what Boss Miko Tim sang. If education is indeed the master key, then only the unwise can ever joke with it. There is no wise person anywhere in the world who plays with the master key. Our education is our future. Our education is our wealth. Our education is our life. We should not be so dulled, dumped, and numbed that we play with education, the master key. I ask again, education for what?